Colleagues, greetings to everybody. My name is Grigory Rivenka. I work in Excel Pro. Before we dwell into the substance, I want to thank all of you for finding time on Saturday to come to this track and to listen to big data discussions. Our colleagues already spoke about big data management and their benefits. I will refer to something else. Peter had a great slide with architecture and everything, and there was a layer devoted to data storage, okay? How we store data and how we store data. This is what we're going to talk about. Okay, let's do the who is here from cybersecurity, okay, and who's here from IT, and who is in superposition. Okay, great. A year and a half ago, I also was in such superposition. I am a cybersecurity specialist for a number of years. On the other hand, there is big data. Big data has to be protected. How do we do it? Well, we know that there are some storages with petabytes of data. And it wasn't easy. Okay, in order to create a common context, let's recall how data is stored at all. Let's talk about the data evolution and prerequisites of how the approaches were made or chosen. All right, and then switch to contemporary data governance. Well, you remember, everything, there was a task to store structured data in the 60s or in the 70s. And there was a class of solutions as DWH, data warehouse. Its implementation could be different, but if we talk about values, its major value is this: the structured data is easy to find and is easy to retrieve and use. So the model of its work is extract, transform, load, ETL. So we take data from somewhere, this is extract. Before loading, we transform this data into a needed data set, and only then we save it. Right? This is the way to work with the structured data. It's a great way to approach it, and everything would be fine if for the need that Renat already referred to, the need of visualization, the need of machine vision, okay, which you cannot store as text. Okay, so there is a need right now to store unstructured data. The data lake concept was born. About 5 years ago, people spoke a lot about, oh, we have great storage, we put everything there. So this concept was born. Okay, so we load the data from a source, we keep it there, but transformation of data is not that easy. Okay. So data lake is basically you collect data, you put it there, and maybe sometimes we will get there and extract it. Truth be told, the data from data lakes is used, but there are always situations where these data lakes become data swamps. Okay, so the people who work with big data know what I'm talking about, right? They become black boxes, like this lake swamps. It's not clear how to work with them. And I'm not even talking about the quality of data, but one can spend days, weeks, and even months searching for data in those swamps. Okay, well, evolution was continuing, and we have two approaches, both of which have their pros and cons. So the data is easy the lake easy to store, DWH easy to retrieve. There are new concepts right now that unite pros of the both solutions, like data fabric, data lakehouse, or data mesh, if you will. I had a slide devoted to that, but decided not to include it into the presentation because all of these solutions, they all are based on these two words, data governance. So what is data governance? Okay, let's dig into this. It's not about equipment. It's not about technology. We are in 2025. I'm not going to talk about this. So we are going to answer these questions on the screen, right? Which knowledge domain answers this question? Okay, so where is data stored? Alexander, I think, gave us a wonderful description of data catalog. Okay, who is responsible for this data? Who has access to this data? Can we trust this data? And which data are important and which are not? Which do we have to secure and which we can afford to lose? So basically, data governance makes it possible for us to find data, understand the data, assess according to risk, secured, if we talk about cybersecurity, and most importantly, used for business purposes in order to have some value. So we have 5 questions. So what's the most important thing here? What do you think? Let's think about that for about 10 seconds. What is the most important thing? Do we trust this data, or actually everything is important, absolutely everything? So let's go point by point, bullet by bullet. Access and ownership control. Why is this important? Without understanding who is responsible for this data, you will never be able to figure out, and I'm talking in a cybersecurity context, of course, from this superposition. If you have an incident on data, it doesn't matter what it was, leakage or data transformed into some kind of an unrecognizable mesh, who is responsible for this? This is a key question, indeed. Because as my colleagues told you before, if the company is big or organization is big, it started categorizing the data, the development colleagues decided to take the data storages outside, which became shadow IT. So there were a lot of shadow ITs. Right? Well. And that was kept as if a secret. So anyway, to avoid a situation like this, we have to understand who owns the data. And this is what data governance solves. The second question, it's the classification of the data sensitivity. We have tens of databases, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of databases, which have, millions of tables with billions of strings. Which of these strings are important? And without classification of such data, of such databases, of specific tables or even specific columns, we will be doing this either badly or with a big price ticket. So we're all about efficiency here, so I think we don't have to refer to this anymore. We will talk about quality of data a little bit later. Logging and auditing is a different story. My cybersecurity colleagues deal with this a lot. When the system is rolled out, there are certain requirements for logging. So loggings have to contain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 things. And the guys from will not let me tell you a lie. So they are fighting for each tool. They're fighting for the quality, for the logging. Because without quality logs, you won't be able to build the monitoring system, nor the security system. Okay. It's called CEM in cybersecurity parlance. You won't be able to understand whether this data is good or normal or not normal, whether the system is configured correctly, or you have to go to the system owner and ask him to adapt the system to your tasks. And compliance is the last point here. If we talk about Russia, it's law number 152. It's law about personal data that we all are familiar with for the last 15 years and got tired of, frankly speaking. GDPR, if we talk about foreign laws, but not only. But by and large, the governance story is to be able to find personal data and to understand how to protect it. I neglected one of the data governance features here on purpose. I'm talking about the data quality. Why is data quality important in cybersec context? I'm not going to refer to machine learning right now. I'm not an expert of that. But in cybersec context, data quality is important because it's an incident indicator. So an incident is not only when our data is stolen, right? When there is a data leakage happened. No, an incident of informational security also is about data which is not coming to us in the correct format. Those of you who is engaged in monitoring perhaps have witnessed a situation when you had a wonderful system that gives you regularly great logs and correct logs, but then all of a sudden, at a certain point, source IP is missing, or some other important part of information is missing from that log. And when did it disappear? Who knows? An analyst found it, but without data quality control, you will not have anything to work with. Okay, I hope I'm not boring you too much, and let's get to these 5 questions. These are not all questions that could be asked about data governance, but these questions are pertinent to cybersec. How can we cover these questions from the technical point of view? Alexander already mentioned something before me. You have to put attention to 2 types of solutions. First of all, these are data catalogs. All right, data catalogs, and the solutions which help us with data quality. The practice shows us that the data catalogs are already implemented as a function of data quality monitoring. What is data catalog? Show up. Who of you did not understand? Okay, all right, then perhaps it's worth a few sentences. What is a data catalog? Let's speak allegorically. It's a library of data where we have information that stores information about data. Right, it stores information about the source of the data.
Какая информация была, какие данные были сопутствующими или так называемая метадата, то есть откуда пришло...
Metadata, in other words, what does data have inside it, what types of columns there are, and so on and so forth. Again, how they are changing over time, and the most important thing that I already started referring to in the beginning, who is the owner of that data? And what kind of data these are? Are these passwords or something else, something important or not? So this is a big library, in fact. Okay, so this is what a catalog is. Well, data quality. I think it's pretty much clear. Data quality is a set of tests that allows us to say with confidentiality that, yes, this data is good. This is what we need.
Стихийный. Как я уже сказал, уже можно выделить 1 класс решений дата-каталоги.
There is one class of solution, which is data catalogs. Right now, we go a little bit into the theory,
Несешь какую-то дичь,
so that you won't
на научных работах.
suspect me of imagining things. I'm not imagining things. All I'm telling you is based on research. It's called
больших данных.
DMBOK. All right? It's a Bible of tens of domains which tell you how to work with data, what differentiates data from information, and so on and so forth. But DMBOK
большой раздел
has
безопасности данных, то есть это не
a chapter about data security.
Безопасность относительно больших данных должна жить где-то там.
It's not about It's not just saying that data should be somewhere else to be protected. No, data is security is an inalienable part of working with data. And how do we protect it? We control access, we protect the sensitive data, we respect the policies.
Один раз там нашли какие-то PDN и сказали, ну вот мы их
So if we found PDN once and we decided, oh, this is the way we are going to protect them, no, this is not that. So DAMA DMBOK insists that the tests should be A, regular, and B, automated, okay? But we're not going to talk about automation in 2025. And of course, auditing and monitoring. And you all know about this. These are the requirements of our CyberSec colleagues of specific logs and catalogs. So these are all completely adequate and rational requirements that are also applied to big data. Okay? All right, so we have two domains. Data governance that manages data and information security. So how can we be useful to each other? What does cybersecurity or informational security need? They need an answer to the response, where is the sensitive data stored? How can we help? Okay, we have a library, the data catalog that I told you about, and inside that catalog we can classify the data. The next question, who is responsible for the data? If something goes wrong, who do we go to? Okay, the data governance solution, the catalog format comes to the rescue here. We have to understand who the owner of data is, who is the steward, data steward, security steward, and so on. Who and when had access? Okay, here it is, an audit question. Right, audit and logging. Which data is critical? We already spoke about that. Classification and also automatic checks of data quality. Because from a practical point of view, mechanisms of data quality are used very often. In order to understand whether, for instance, passwords are encrypted, and often enough, I saw how people took data quality mechanism and they start utilizing those for specific testing. All right. And finally, compliance. Well, compliance is not a technical, it's more of organizational part. But this framework is also described in DAMA DMBOK. All right, let's talk value. Let's talk value. My colleagues advised me to put this slide into the presentation to make it look somewhat practical. I already referred to the point that in 2025, cybersec and big data are not opposing domains. These are domains which have to run hand in hand. And what I see is that inside cybersecurity, there is a need, a request to work with big data from the point of view of their protection. So, do we have in the game as well? Okay. First, we have to
где мы будем вести
make a
дата-каталог.
decision
Да, чтобы
of
максимально
where we're going to
упростить вам эту
keep
задачу.
data catalog. In order to simplify this task for you, I am providing the a QR code. There is a wonderful study behind that QR code that was done on GitHub. I think it was updated a month ago, so this is a very topical research. Open metadata is an undeniable leader there. If we talk about domestic solutions, and I think Alexander already mentioned that, then I think we should look at the vendors who use domestically developed solutions. There can be a number of these solutions, but there are some specific open metadata-based companies that do that. Okay, once we've determined the tool, we have to audit the landscape in order to understand what it is exactly that we want to protect, where is this stored. We have to formulate or structure audit of, okay, in order to understand what is subject to risk, what kind of risks we have, and so on and so forth. Once we have a picture of the risk, we have to word the tasks, kind of decide upon the tasks and practices for the data protection programs. That is to say, the solutions. Okay, we'll start the life cycle of data protection, and as a consequence of that, we have the cybersecurity. On this stage, cybersecurity can use the context analysis in order to integrate the systems of the data protection into the CyberSec solution. You will lack some methodological data at a certain point, and I can recommend Dama DMBOK. In this respect, it exists in Russian in its 2020 version. There is an English version of 2025. It came out in March. So that's it, basically. Okay, in 2025, you will not be able to create your cybersecurity system not taking into account that big data. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much. Please rate my presentation, whether it was useful or not, and I'm ready for your questions. Colleagues, I think this was a great story about data governance and its compatibility with big data that we referred to before. Any questions? Oh, yes. While you're thinking about your questions, there's a great book that will be given to the best questioner. Thank you. I found your presentation quite interesting. This is my question. So if we talk about DWH, data lakes, data governance is the data engineer domain, right? So there's people who can do that, who have the skills. If we talk about the classical IT infrastructure that had broad base, there are data there already, and we are interested in the same issues. But the data governance expression never sounds there. Do you think, is it applicable? I think so, absolutely. And there is a demand for that already. About a month ago, we spoke with a large client, a big client, and there was a request from a colleague who told me, okay, we had 1.5 internal prod systems, 1.5 thousand internal prod systems. We don't know which data lies where. What do we do? So we basically we sifted through that framework, and right now we are on the kind of final leg of the journal. We will transform all of this into logs, catalogs rather, and then yes, we will be auditing them. Bottom line, yes, it is needed. The bigger the company, the bigger the possibility that the data is already lost. Right. I will add to this that this topic is not anything new. Big data is being developed, yes. From the point of view of structured, non-structured data, the last decade, I think we've seen a lot of attention to that subject. It is coming now onto the Russian market. And there are vendors who are providing solutions in this area because, yes, indeed, there is demand. Thank you for your presentation. Given that there's a lot of data that has been accumulated over years, if not decades, how often do you see migration need and parallel sorting of this data? Yes, I've encountered that as well. A disclaimer, I'm a former cybersecurity guy, right? And I deal with this problem when there is a migration problem from one vendor to another. Sometimes data is not compatible. We are trying to resolve this by fine-tuning ETL and by manual catalogization of data. So we put together the data of the meta of the existing data, see where it's stored, and the CIM change cycles are about 5 years, right? So right now, yes. Right now, yes. This particular year now. Then we'll deal with this 5 years from now. Okay, we have time for one more question. Right here in the middle is the mic.
Да, добрый день.
Okay, hello. Data catalog is a great stuff, a great thing. Its problem, however, is that it's not enough to connect databases. You have to categorize the information, you have to describe it, and this is the most challenging task when you are implementing the data catalog. I will not agree. Well, probably yes, probably no. But anyway, maybe you use some automated ways or means of tagging and categorizing data while making your catalogs. Okay, people ask me not to advertise anybody, right? So we did that using one vendor's product. Okay, our problem is somewhat different to find all of these databases because none of these catalogs has a crawler that will sift through all the network and find the shadow IT.
And when it came to markup, what the vendor offered at the starting point, that was enough. So we didn't have a goal of doing it in a very detailed way for this field. No, the task was like, here's PDM, it looks like this, data quality check, this way, looks like, okay. But we're not yet mature enough to go beyond that. Grigori, thank you. And who gets the prize? The last one, a very good question. Thank you for your question. Thank you.